Hello everyone, my name is Jim Reedy and welcome to another installment of our weekly Giacomo Cooks Quick Cooking Solutions. Today, as we had talked about last week, we're going to speak briefly about some steaks, and the steak we're going to talk about today is a New York strip steak. Now, before we even get into the steaks, we'll have to go ahead and talk about the different gradings of steak. Now, other than commercial grade, which is what you'll find, at least we find them here locally in the St. Louis, St. Charles area, those $2.99 and $4.99 fillets that are really kind of junky, those are just the commercial type grade fillet, nothing to do with a really good tenderloin type fillet. Now, the other gradings are select, choice, and USDA prime. Prime being the best. Now those are selected based on the age of the meat as well as on the marbleization of the meat. So now let's turn our attention towards a New York strip steak. What we have here is a fine example of a New York strip steak. Now this particular one is a USDA prime graded steak. And you can see here it's got a great nice fat line right here. You want to, when you pick a steak like this, you want to go ahead and get a smaller steak. That's usually a good rule of thumb whenever you pick pretty much any steak. The smaller normally is from the more tender part of the meat, in this case the loin. And what you'll find here in a lower grade of meat that is not a prime, there's usually some gristle that can go up and down here. And this gristle can get pretty tough, especially if you get into a select or commercial grade and make this meat almost uneatable. That's why a lot of people say that they don't really like the New York strip because of that gristly type fat. But other than that, the entire steak is really eatable. When you cook this, especially like I said on a USDA prime, even this fat is something that you can just chop off and eat with the meat. It's delicious, it's awesome, and this whole steak can be consumed without any problem. Like I mentioned before, this right here is the USDA prime, and you can see the marbleization on here that makes it a great, tender, juicy steak. You should enjoy a steak like this quite a bit. So as you can see, that is a good example of a New York strip steak. Remember to keep in mind the few little hints that I've given you. Try and keep the New York strip steak at least about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches minimum thickness on it. That gives you the best, juiciest meat. And with the New York strip steak, I would really try and go for a USDA prime to just get the best cut and the best taste, the best flavor that you're looking for on that meat. Well, join us next week when in Quick Cooking Solutions we discuss the ribeye steak and how to pick a perfect ribeye. Thank you very much, and arrivederci.